my husband and I, we have been talking about, starting our rental portfolio for a really long time. And we kind of always knew we live in California. So we kind of always knew it would be outside of California. The properties that we own here are just the ones on our property. We have 20 acres we live in Loomis, California. It's a little bit north of Sacramento, it's a little bit south of Tahoe. So it's kind of country property. Most of the people that live in Loomis live on like 2 to 5 acres. And so we knew if we were going to be doing anything, we'd just be doing stuff on our property since we have 20. And then everything else, just because the numbers work so much better, would be out of state. So at that point, when we were discussing what we wanted our numbers to look like, we wanted a minimum of a 20% cash on cash. And we honestly didn't care where. So when we first started analyzing properties, we were in Texas, we were in Tennessee, we were on the East Coast, like we were everywhere. And we ended up actually picking up our first property in Columbus, Georgia, which again, super random. I had a realtor connection there. She started, sending me some properties, and the first one that we ended up picking up, we just really liked it. It's still probably one of our favorite properties to this day. Now, it's not our best producing. The other ones, since going into Michigan City, are definitely a lot better producing, but it still produces well, and we still love the properties.
Yeah, it's beautiful too. It's just a really cool.
It's really cute.
Yeah. So what did you learn on that first one? I'm curious, like what made you pull the trigger on that one, and then what made you decide not to continue to invest in Columbus and move further north in Indiana?
So I think we were just like super excited to kind of get the ball rolling. So, that first one, you kind of just like jump into it, and we knew we just needed to like start and not be so paralysis in our decision making. And so this one was turnkey, and with us buying out of state and with me primarily doing it, my husband has not really been hands-on with this business at all. It's primarily been me. And even though he has the construction side, and so like, yes, that relationship works well where I have the real estate and he has the construction, but we just did not want to manage a rehab out of state, especially with me just learning the short-term rental business. I did not want to add a full rehab on top of that. I'm like, I just need to buy some turnkey properties that are going to be low maintenance, that I can get my Airbnb systems and procedures and structures up and running so that I can focus on that and not be focusing on a full gut rehab. And so that one was turnkey. It was just done by a local real estate investor who brought in one of their local contractors, and with my agent being really involved and successful in the area, she knew the contractor, and she was like, they do quality work. I could tell from the walkthrough and the pictures, with us being in the business, that the work was done really well, and it was super cute. And so we were like, okay, the numbers are going to be a little bit, they weren't lower than our 20%, like they met our minimum marks. So that's why we moved forward with it. But then afterwards, once we were like, well, we're going to go into Kirby's market, we learned that the numbers there were definitely a lot better. And so, but we were excited just to pull the trigger and just to get started with our first out-of-state short-term rental. So
yeah, and 20% like as a minimum cash on cash, that's not a bad minimum to it's not like you're sacrificing in terms of the quality deal, but it's just incredible once you start to realize what's possible with short-term rentals. So one of the big pushbacks that I get from people, or concerns, I guess, from people who are thinking about getting into short-term rentals, especially remote, is how could I ever buy a property across the country? Like if I live in California and I'm buying it in Georgia, like it just seems daunting and overwhelming to try to figure that out. So was that a concern for you, and how did that play out? Have you ever even been to the property, or is it all been remote?
So no, we have not been to any of our out-of-state properties yet. Our goal for 2023 is to at least go visit one of them. But no, I've been managing all of them Virtually, I have never even stepped foot in these states yet. The states that I own property in, besides obviously mine on my property, I've never even been there. I've
That's
never been to
hilarious.
Georgia. I've never even been to Indiana. No,
You're missing
haven't
out
even
on
been to
Indiana
state.
big time.
No, I know. We have
Yeah.
a goal to definitely that one we're for sure going to. But so no, I would say as long as you have really good boots on the ground. So I have a really good cleaning person in both of in all of my markets. So I'm in 3 markets, obviously Loomis, where I live, and then we're in Michigan City, Indiana, and we're in Columbus, Georgia. So in all my markets, we have really good handyman, really good cleaning person. I had a really good stager initially to help me stage and, you know, get the property ready for Airbnb. So, and then, you know, just kind of like backup people, but, you know, as long as you build those connections and those relationships, my agent there locally and my stager, they're always willing to help me. My agent helped me get my permits there locally because, you know, you have to meet the person, like in Georgia, the inspector has to meet someone at the property to get your final permit there. And so she turned in the paperwork for me, and she met the agent, or she met the inspector at the property for me so I could get my short-term rental permit there. So I would just say having great boots on the ground is key, and you can do it anywhere. So
That's awesome.
that was not one of our hesitations though. So I would say is if you're comfortable with it, then definitely, you know, do virtually, because you can do it. I'm living proof of that, but you definitely need to be not having like a, you know, hesitation about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've learned over the years that sometimes it's like things work out almost the opposite of what you'd think. Like initially I thought that we needed to be right next to our properties to manage them. And, you know, I had that preconceived notion like a lot of people do. And for the first year I was driving there to handle little things and do all this stuff that I thought I needed to do more hands-on. And I realized after a year, I'm actually like killing myself here. Like I'm my own worst enemy, because with this time that I just went to fix a Wi-Fi issue for, you know, a 3-hour period when we were having Wi-Fi problems, I could have easily paid somebody to do that. And I could have spent that time on something that was a much higher dollar per hour activity. And so, you know, I think there's a lesson in this. Like you've had results that are, you know, surpass a lot of people in terms of how much you're able to accomplish in the last year, but it's, you know, you're not doing it in the traditional way that most people think they need to do it. And I think it's because of that, you're doing it like out of state and embracing things that seem like they would be insurmountable challenges, like buying multiple properties across the country, actually in some ways are the primary reason I think that you've had such incredible success. I mean, obviously you're very sharp and talented as well, but it's in the process of doing it that way that it's forced you to figure out how do I do this with systems and that sort of thing. So I think that's really interesting. I'm curious, did your agent then, like for things like furnishing the property, did your agent help with that, or did you find somebody else, or how'd you get the property all set up for your guests?
Yeah, so my agent referred me to a stager. So a lot of agents work with stagers, and the stager in Columbus, Georgia, was actually used to be a real estate stager and was turning into a short-term stager. And so like she was wanting to pick up, you know, she was wanting to do my property for me because she wanted that experience, because that was something that she wanted to add, you know, to her resume. So, and she did a beautiful job. Like I was hands down very, very happy with her services. And so, yeah, we did a lot through Amazon. So, you know, again, you're gonna pay a little bit more when you're doing everything virtually, you know, where if you have a property in your backyard, you can go to like Goodwill stores and Facebook Marketplace and, you know, garage sales if you wanted to stage a property really, really cheap, you know, but When I'm doing virtually, I can't go and send stagers to all those places, like, so
Right.
I have an Amazon list that I created where, a lot of the stuff that has worked really well and that we've gotten great reviews and feedback from our guests, like mattresses and stuff like that. I just order everything off of Amazon and ship it to their address or to the property address if I'm able to do that. And then they'll go to the local stores to pick up like plants and like that last minute like decor stuff, but a lot of the big items. And then I will always just look for a local furniture store company there to pick up our sofa beds, because we always have the sofa couch be a bed as well. And then I just have that delivered to the property as well. So again, I'm probably paying a little bit more like than what an average staging budget could be if you do it on the cheaper end. But I also am wanting our properties to look really nice. So I'm willing to spend a little bit more money to have them, look nice as well. So
Yeah. And that's a great, I mean, that's a great strategy using stagers. It's one that I recommend as well. Because, you can, it's sort of a spread of in terms of pricing on different people who do this. Like you can hire a high-end designer to do it, and you're going to pay the highest premium. And typically on the lower end, if you're outsourcing this, is going to be a home stager, because they do this all the time. Like they're set up to stage fairly inexpensively, but still, the furniture looks nice, and they're always turning over their inventory.
yeah.
So they want to sell off stuff that's been used, but gently used, so that they can get new stuff. So yeah, that's a great strategy. And I think, again, thinking about your time, you've been able to do so many deals because of stuff like this. Like you hire someone who does an excellent job at it, so you're not trying to figure out and reinvent the wheel, and maybe you pay a little bit more for that, but at the same time, it allows you to buy more properties that overall you're actually netting quite a bit higher.